The sigh escaped my lips in a long, slow whistle. I leaned the ancient broom, a relic probably older than I was, against the stone archway of the Grand Archives. The sun was perfect. The breeze was just right. Another successful day of doing the absolute bare minimum. As the one and only janitorial apprentice for the Ethelgard Academy's archives, I lived by a single sacred creed. Keep your head down. In my last life, I've been a corporate drone, grinding myself into an early grave for the sake of KPIs and quarterly reports. I'd given a multinational corporation my youth, my health, and eventually my life. Reborn into this world of magic and cultivation, you think I was going to get into all that fighting and killing nonsense? Ascension? Ascend my ass. Why go looking for trouble when you could be lying here, soaking up the sun? The annual Academy tournament? I'll pass. Expeditions into forgotten realms? Hard pass. I even timed my trips to the dining hall for when it was practically empty. After 3 years, everyone at Ethelgard knew about Leo Foster, the loser who haunted the archives. My magical aptitude was trash, my power level was a joke, and my only redeeming quality was that I could, admittedly, sweep a floor pretty damn clean. And I was perfectly happy with that reputation. Being a nobody is great. It's fantastic. Nobody's going to live long, boring, and most importantly, long lives. I slumped against the doorframe, squinting into the afternoon light, my mind drifting to the most pressing issue of the day. Should I have the lentil soup for dinner, or the soup with lentils in it? That's when a chill, cold enough to freeze the soul, descended over the archives without any warning. I yelped, nearly sliding off the doorframe. My eyes flew open. A figure in white was standing right in front of me, though I'd have sworn the courtyard was empty a second ago. It was a woman. She was tall, dressed in white that seemed to absorb the light, with hair like a waterfall of black silk flowing down her back, unadorned. Her face was the kind of beautiful that could start wars, but it was locked in a permafrost of icy indifference. Her eyes, almond-shaped and sharp, held no human emotion. It was like a goddess staring down at a bug. My heart hammered against my ribs. Oh crap, this was so far above my pay grade. That aura, that face, that dramatic entrance. In the entire Ethelgard Academy, there was only one person it could be. Seraphina Prescott, the prodigy who practiced the legendary Frostfall scripture, the one who supposedly dispatched monsters with the same ease she'd slice a cucumber. The woman who starred in every male student's fantasies and nightmares in equal measure. Apprentice Leo Foster, at your service, Senior Prescott. I instantly snapped into useless mode, tucking my head down, bowing my back, and resisting the urge to just prostrate myself on the cobblestones. Warning bells were screaming in my head. What's she doing here? The archives? This is the last place a golden girl like her would ever visit. Did someone complain that I missed a spot sweeping yesterday? No way. I even cleaned the cracks between the stones with a toothpick. Seraphina didn't speak. She just stared, her gaze like a pair of ice picks, trying to bore straight through my soul. My scalp tingled, and a bead of cold sweat trickled down my temple. Come on, lady, say something. The silent treatment is stressing me out. Suddenly, she moved. She raised a hand. It was a perfect hand, like something carved from alabaster, with long, elegant fingers. And that hand was now moving, slowly, deliberately, toward my chest. My pupils shrank to pinpricks. What the hell? In broad daylight? What do you want? I might be handsome, but I'm broke. I'm not for sale. I tried to dodge, but that bone-deep chill had me locked in place. My body was as stiff as a board. Then I felt it. A single, ice-cold finger pressed against my sternum. And then that finger began to trace a slow, deliberate path over my chest, like it was examining a priceless artifact. My brain just shut down. Dude, no, wait, Dedette. This isn't how the script goes. You're supposed to radiate overwhelming power, give me, the worthless loser, a look of utter disdain, and then mutter, get out of my way, right? What is this? You're patting me down like a butcher inspecting a prime cut of meat. Senior Prescott. What? What are you? My voice was a pathetic tremble. She still didn't speak. Her eyes narrowed in concentration. Her fingertip moved with excruciating slowness from my collarbone down, finally stopping over my stomach, right where my core was supposed to be. Through the thin fabric of my apprentice tunic, The bone-chilling cold made me feel like my internal organs were about to turn into a Slurpee. But inside Seraphina's mind, a storm was raging. The backlash from the Frostfall scripture was getting stronger. She could feel the frost energy in her body nearing a critical point. Once it broke loose, she would become a mindless ice demon. The only solution was to find the legendary immaculate body to act as a conduit, using its pure, untainted primal essence to pacify the raging storm within her. She had searched the entire academy, scanned every prodigy and elder, but had found nothing. Just as she was about to give up hope, she'd passed the archives and sensed a faint, almost imperceptible aura of unbelievable purity. The source was the terrified janitor standing right in front of her. Yes, this is it. He appeared to have a muddled aptitude and a non-existent power level, but beneath that loser exterior was a flawless, perfect, immaculate body. His primal essence was as pure as the first ray of dawn at the beginning of time. He was like a priceless jade artifact encased in a thick, ugly shell of rock. What a colossal waste! A flicker of anger crossed Seraphina's mind. Such a perfect body was being used to sweep floors? Her finger finally stilled, a look of grim determination in her eyes. Screw it. To suppress the backlash, to continue my path to ascension. This conduit, I'm taking him. I saw the shift in her eyes, and my soul cried out in terror. That wasn't a normal look. That was the look of a predator spotting its prey. That was the look of a shopper spotting a 70% off sign. Senior, I was about to cry. Please, stop touching me. That rib, it really doesn't belong to you. Seraphina finally pulled her hand back. She looked down at me, her voice flat and utterly devoid of negotiation. You're coming with me. My knees gave out, and I almost collapsed. Go. Go where, Senior Prescott? My sanctum. Her reply was short, the words so cold they could have cracked. My brain just exploded. Your sanctum. Why would I go to your sanctum? I'm a janitor. We don't even move in the same social circles. Could it be? Has my stunning beauty finally become impossible to hide? No, that's not it. I immediately shot down that ridiculous idea. Looking at Seraphina's eternally frozen face, it was clear she didn't have a lustful bone in her body. She looked like the kind of person who would nail Isaac Newton's coffin shut and then ask him to explain gravity. She held absolutely no worldly desires for me. So that raised the question, why would a crazy beautiful woman with no worldly desires drag a defenseless, weak man back to her private sanctum? For money? I was flat broke. For my body? I'll keep that as a remote possibility, but the odds weren't looking good. Could it be? For my kidneys? This world was full of dark arts, cultivators who absorb the life force of others to boost their own power. The way she was just checking my bone structure. Was she planning on harvesting me for parts? The more I thought about it, the paler my face got. Senior, I haven't finished sweeping the courtyard, you see. I made a last-ditch effort. Sweeping? Seraphina's eyes flickered, and an invisible pressure slammed down on me. It felt like 2 mountains had been dropped on my shoulders. My legs buckled, and I fell to my knees with a thud. The broom clattered to the ground beside me. As of today, you're done sweeping, she said, her voice a calm, chilling monotone. Her words didn't bring me any joy. They terrified me even more. She was even relieving me of my only job. She was cutting off all my escape routes, planning to keep me as her personal bait. No. Senior, I love sweeping. Sweeping brings me joy. I want to sweep for the academy for the rest of my life. I wailed, tears streaming down my face as I lunged forward and hugged her. Calf. I couldn't reach her thigh. Her leg was ice cold, the chill seeping through the fabric of her dress. Seraphina's body went rigid. She looked down at me, clinging to her leg like a pathetic slug, and her brow furrowed almost imperceptibly. She had a thing about cleanliness. A very serious thing. Normally, if someone had dared to touch her, they'd be a human popsicle by now. But this person was her only hope. He was her medicine. She fought back the overwhelming urge to kick me into the next county, her voice turning even colder. Let go. I won't. Not unless you let me keep sweeping. I was now channeling the spirit of a world-class freeloader. As long as I didn't have to go to that creepy sanctum, who cares about dignity? Can dignity pay the bills? I'll say it one more time. Let go. Frost began to visibly crystallize in the air around her. I shuddered, feeling a very real, very tangible killing intent. I knew, in that moment, that if I didn't let go, I was probably going to meet my maker. I sheepishly released my grip and knelt on the ground, putting on my best I am but a humble fish on the chopping block expression. Serafina didn't spare me another glance. She turned and began to walk away. After 2 steps, she noticed I was still kneeling there. She stopped, turned, and gave me a single, cold look. I got the message. I scrambled to my feet, snatched up my precious broom, and scurried after her like a lost puppy. Along the way, any other students we passed gave us a wide berth, pointing and whispering from a safe distance. Oh my God, isn't that Serafina Prescott? Who's that following her? I think it's that loser from the archives, Leo Foster. What's he doing with her? And look at her. It's like she's actually waiting for him. My goddess, how could she be with a waste of space like him? I can't accept this. I heard the whispers and lower my head even further. It's over. The entire academy now thinks I've been chosen by the Ice Queen. I'm going to get jumped in a dark alley. I just know it. Beautiful women are trouble. I lamented internally as Serafina led me all the way to the highest peak of Ethelgard Academy. Mist swirled around us here, the air thick with magical energy. A single, isolated palace stood here, with 3 words carved over the entrance, Glacial Sanctum. This was her place. Come. Serafina pushed the doors open, and a blast of cold 10 times more intense than the air outside hit me in the face. I shivered, feeling like I'd just been thrown into a walk-in freezer. Clutching my broom, I shuffled inside. The main hall was vast and empty. Aside from a single meditation cushion in the center, there were no decorations. The walls, floor, and ceiling were all carved from ancient, glowing blue ice. This wasn't a place for the living. This was a morgue. Serafina walked to the cushion, sat down cross-legged, and then looked up at me. Come here. I shuffled forward reluctantly. Seat. She pointed to the floor in front of her. I obeyed, sitting down and hugging my broom tightly as if it were my only lifeline. Do you know why I brought you here? Serafina finally asked the million-dollar question. I shook my head frantically, my face a mask of pure innocence. This humble apprentice is too foolish to understand. Internally, I was screaming. How the hell should I know what a psycho like you is thinking? As if reading my mind, she let out a cold snort. Your body. It's special. Here we go. The classic line, my heart seized. I knew it. Is that so? I played dumb. An immaculate body. 1 in a million, she said, enunciating each word. The perfect conduit for dual cultivation. Dual cultivation. My eyes nearly bug out of my head. I'd been in this world for 3 years and hadn't so much as held a girl's hand. Now, we were jumping straight to dual cultivation. Isn't that skipping a few steps? Like all of them? Correct. Her expression didn't change, as if she were discussing the weather. There's a problem with the cultivation method I practice. I need to use your immaculate body to regulate it. So, she looked at me, her gaze as impersonal as if she were looking at a tool. From now on, you are my exclusive conduit. I refuse. The words burst out of me. Are you kidding me? A conduit? That's just a fancy word for a consumable. Once my value was used up, I'd be thrown out like trash. All I wanted was to keep my head down and survive, not die young and tragically. You don't have the right to refuse. The moment the words left her mouth, the temperature in the glacial sanctum plummeted. Tiny ice crystals formed in the air. A terrifying pressure slammed down on me, making it hard to even breathe. I had no doubt that if I dared to say no again, I'd become a Leo cycle in the next second. My face turned red from the strain. Finally, faced with the imminent threat of death, I lowered my head in humiliation. Senior Prescott, dual cultivation is fine, but can we do paper session? Serafina's expression froze for a fraction of a second. For the first time, a flicker of something that looked like confusion appeared in those deep, tranquil eyes. Paper session? What kind of degenerate nonsense was that? In all her years of cultivation, she'd slain demons and executed heretics. She'd seen cowards and sycophants. But she had never, ever met someone who, in this kind of situation, tried to negotiate a fee. What in the world was going on in his head? What do you want? She asked, suppressing the strange feeling and returning to her icy tone. Mana cristals. Lots of them. I saw a glimmer of hope, my eyes lighting up. Think about it, senior. This is a 1 in a million immaculate body. Exclusive rights, no other branches. You're using my body for a highly specialized purpose. This is a premium, custom service. Charging a service fee is completely reasonable, don't you think? I launched into my old sales pitch. Look, a monthly subscription gets you a 10% discount. Sign up for a year, you get 20% off. If you can pay the full amount up front, I can even throw in 2 sessions for free. How about it, senior? Think it over. I watched her face nervously as I spoke. I didn't really want the money. I was making a bet. I was betting that a proud, untouchable prodigy like her would be so offended by me comparing our sacred dual cultivation to a crude business transaction that she'd fly into a rage, call me a shameless degenerate, and throw me out. It was the only way I could think of to save my life and my freedom. But I had seriously underestimated how desperate she was to fix her cultivation problem. Serafina just stared at me coldly. There was no anger in her eyes. In fact, was that pity. Fine. A single, crisp word left her lips. The smile froze on my face. Name your price, she said, her tone as casual as if she were buying a head of lettuce at the farmer's market. I was dumbfounded. This isn't right. You're supposed to call me shameless and disgusting and throw me out like garbage. Why did you agree? You don't find this insulting? I asked, refusing to give up. Why would I? She countered. You provide your body. I provide appropriate compensation. It's a fair trade. What does that have to do with insults? She paused, then added, your request is reasonable. It was an oversight on my part. I almost coughed up a lungful of blood. Reasonable? Reasonable my ass. Lady, can we please stick to the tropes? You being this logical is making things really difficult for me. What? Not enough. Seeing my silence, she must have thought I was unhappy with the price. She casually pulled a pouch from a storage ring on her finger and tossed it in front of me. The pouch landed with a heavy, clinking sound. Here's 10,000 low-grade mana crystals. A down payment. If it's not enough, we can add more. I stared at the heavy bag of crystals at my feet, my eyes wide. 10,000. In 3 years of sweeping floors, my total salary from the academy didn't even add up to 100. This was... Holy crap. I felt my convictions, my sacred Tao of slacking, being assaulted like never before. The word survive, which was carved into the core of my soul, seemed to develop. A tiny crack. No. Lao. Get a grip. Money is just paper. You can always make more. Your life is your own. Once it's gone, it's gone. I bit the inside of my cheek hard. The sharp pain snapped me back to reality. I looked up, my eyes filled with the tragic heroism of a martyr. I grabbed my broom, held it horizontally in front of my chest, and pointed it at Serafina. You want me as your conduit? You'll have to get through my broom first. I struck what I thought was a cool pose, even though my legs were shaking uncontrollably. I couldn't lose on presence. This was my final stand. I would rather die than be humiliated. Serafina looked at my heroic stance, then at the chipped, splintered broom in my hands, and fell silent once again. She felt like there was some fundamental communication barrier between us. Are you sure? She asked. I'm positive. I yelled, my neck stiff with defiance, though my voice cracked with fear. All right. Serafina slowly rose to her feet. An indescribable, terrifying aura began to radiate from her. The temperature in the glacial sanctum dropped again. The ice walls began to creak and groan, as if they couldn't withstand the chill. A cold dread shot up from the soles of my feet to the top of my head. Had I pushed it too far? In the next second, Serafina's figure vanished. My pupils contracted. Before I could even react, I felt an icy grip on my wrist, like being clamped in a steel vise. I looked down. Serafina had appeared right in front of me, one hand holding my wrist effortlessly. And my proud divine weapon, my old broom, was now in her other hand. The whole thing happened so fast, I didn't even see her move. I was too stunned to speak. Serafina examined the broom in her hand. Then, as I watched in horror, her fingers tightened slightly. Crack! A sharp snap echoed in the silent hall. My trusty companion of 3 years, the broom so sturdy I could have used it as a club, was effortlessly broken in two. There, I'm through, she said. She tossed the 2 pieces of the broken broom to the floor, then raised her eyes and looked at me calmly. I just stood there. My body was trembling uncontrollably from head to toe, half from fear, half from rage. My broom, my only friend, you'll pay for my broom. Humiliating tears, against my will, began to well up in the corners of my eyes. Seeing my devastated, on the verge of sobbing expression, Serafina's brow furrowed again. She couldn't understand. She just broke a broom. Why was he so heartbroken? Could it be that this broom held some special meaning for him? Was it his bonded magical artifact? A janitor whose bonded artifact was a broom. Logically, that sort of made sense. At that thought, a flicker of almost unnoticeable apology appeared in her eyes. My apologies for breaking your artifact, she said, offering a rare explanation. I'll compensate you with a new one. Any weapon from the Academy's armory, you can take your pick. I looked up at her, my eyes teary. Really, a lady never goes back on her word. In that case, I want the Heaven Tier artifact, the Astral Comet Sweeper. You'll give me that? I asked between sobs. Serafina paused. Fina. My crying stopped instantly. I looked at Serafina, then at the bag of mana crystals on the floor, then thought about the legendary Heaven Tier Super Broom. A sinful thought began to bubble up from the depths of my soul. Being a conduit, maybe it wasn't so bad after all. After I humiliatingly accepted my fate as a conduit, my life was turned completely upside down. First, I moved. From the drafty janitor's closet next to the archives, I was relocated to the glacial sanctum on the highest peak. It was as cold as a meat locker, sure, but it was spacious, overflowing with magical energy, and most importantly, room and board were covered. Second, I was financially independent. Serafina was a woman of her word. Not only did she give me the 10,000 mana crystals as a down payment, she also promised a generous monthly maintenance fee. For the first time in my life, I knew the joy of having money thrown at me. My favorite pastime now was lying in my warm bed. I'd spent a fortune on a temperature-regulating jade mattress, counting the crystals in my storage pouch, and feeling my slacker fund grow ever larger. Of course, this joy was built upon my suffering. The so-called dual cultivation had absolutely nothing to do with the steamy scenes I'd imagined. Serafina just had me sit across from her every day while she circulated her energy, drawing out the tiny wisps of pure primal essence that naturally radiated from my body. The whole time, I didn't have to do anything but sit there like a garden gnome. For me, this was a dream job. No clocking in, no overtime. My entire workday consisted of sitting and spacing out, and I got paid for it. This was the best boss ever. If I could just ignore Serafina's icy stare and the freezing temperatures, I felt like I could cultivate here until the end of time. However, while my life was peaceful, the rest of the academy was in an uproar. Did you hear? Leo Foster, that loser from the archives, moved into Senior Prescott's glacial sanctum. What? Are you serious? I thought she was a total germaphobe who never let any man get near her. It's true. I saw it with my own eyes. He was trailing behind her right into the sanctum and hasn't come out since. Oh my God. Did she lose her mind? Did she fall for that pretty boy? Impossible. Absolutely impossible. How could someone like Senior Prescott fall for a janitor? There has to be something else going on. I heard that Leo kid has some kind of special body type, a 1 in a million conduit. That's why Senior Prescott. You know, il s'est conduit. So you're saying he's being kept by her. In an instant, rumors spread like wildfire throughout Ethelgard. Leo Foster, the nobody who had been completely invisible, was suddenly the hottest topic of conversation. His reputation as Serafina Prescott's boy toy and the gigolo who slept his way to the top was firmly established. I, for one, couldn't care less. Let them talk. They only dared to whisper behind my back, anyway. None of them had the guts to say it to Serafina's face. As long as it didn't affect my paycheck, they could say whatever they wanted. One day, I was in my usual spot on a cushion, accompanying Serafina in our dual cultivation. I let out a bored yawn and let my mind wander. Serafina slowly ceased her cultivation and opened her eyes. After several days of this regulation, the raging frost energy inside her had indeed calmed down significantly, and her complexion had a healthier glow. She looked at me, already nodding off, and her brow furrowed. This guy was just too lazy. As an immaculate body, he should have been a cultivation prodigy. But here he was, his power level stagnant, spending his days eating and sleeping like a lazy bum. It was an absolute waste of a gift. Why is your power level so low? Serafina asked suddenly. I jumped, instantly awake, and sat up straight. Replying to Senior, this apprentice is just not talented. Nonsense. She saw through my lie instantly. Your body possesses the highest grade of cultivation aptitude in the world. With just a little guidance, you could make incredible progress. A herd of alpacas stampeded through my mind. Lady, please stop talking. I just want to be a loser. Incredible progress? All I want is 3 square meals a day. You don't want to get stronger? She asked. Nope. I answered, firm and resolute. Serafina fell silent. She was once again experiencing that communication barrier. Why? Because being strong is a hassle, I said carefully. The nail that sticks out gets hammered down. This apprentice just wants to live a quiet, stable life. Serafina was silent. She couldn't comprehend this way of thinking. In her world, the only way to control your own destiny was to become stronger. Weakness was the original sin. And yet, this person in front of her saw strength as a burden. Did he truly believe that? Or was he using it to hide something? She suddenly remembered that on their first meeting, although he had acted like a coward, there had been no true despair in the depths of his eyes, even under her immense pressure. He wasn't as simple as he appeared on the surface. If you're willing to cultivate, I can personally guide you, Serafina said, extending an offer that would have made any other student at Ethelgard go insane with joy. But when I heard it, I looked like I'd seen a ghost, waving my hands frantically. No, no, no. It's okay, Senior. Please don't. I'm a lost cause, not worth your time. Tutoring me would be a complete waste of your valuable energy. Are you kidding me? You tutoring me? My power level would skyrocket, and I wouldn't be able to hide it even if I wanted to. My entire slacker philosophy would be ruined. Seeing my horrified, get away from me expression, Serafina's suspicions deepened. She decided she needed to observe this strange conduit more closely. And so, my miserable life began. Outside of our daily dual cultivation sessions, Serafina started showing up in every aspect of my life. When I ate, she would sit across from me, watching silently. When I slept, she would meditate outside my door, claiming she was standing guard. When I went to the bathroom, I could feel an icy gaze on my back. I was on the verge of a mental breakdown. Lady, I'm begging you, leave me alone. I'm really just a simple, handsome janitor. If you keep staring at me like this, I'll just have to keep putting up with it. After all, she was paying me way too much. Life went on in this bizarre state of being watched. I gradually discovered a pattern. Although Serafina followed me around like a 24/7 surveillance camera, as long as I didn't try to leave the glacial sanctum, she wouldn't actually do anything to me. Over time, I got a little bolder. As long as you don't interrupt my slacking, you can watch all you want. It's not like I'm going to lose a pound. One day, it was time for our daily routine. I sat cross-legged on my temperature-regulating jade bed, humming contentedly. Across from me, on her cushion, Serafina was already deep in her cultivation. Wisps of primal essence seeped from my body, drawn into hers, where they transformed into pure energy to soothe the frost in her meridians. With nothing better to do, I started shamelessly checking out the beautiful woman in front of me. I had to admit, Serafina's face was flawless from every angle. Long curled lashes, a high-bridged nose, perfect lips, and skin so fair it seemed to glow. Especially now, with her eyes closed, she lacked that stay 1,000 feet away from me iciness, giving her a quiet, peaceful beauty. TSK, what a shame, I muttered to myself. So gorgeous, but a total psycho. In my old world, she'd be a top-tier celebrity. As I was lost in my appraisal, Serafina's eyelashes trembled slightly. My heart skipped a beat. I thought she was waking up and quickly straightened my posture, adopting the look of a wise, enlightened master. But after a moment, Serafina didn't open her eyes. Instead, a strange change came over her face. Her perpetually frozen features softened. Her brows furrowed slightly, and the corner of her mouth seemed to twitch upward into a tiny, involuntary smile. The curve was faint, gone in a flash, but it struck my gossip-loving soul like a bolt of lightning. Was she smiling? Serafina Prescott can smile. That was more unbelievable than the sun rising in the west. My curiosity was instantly piqued. I widened my eyes, staring at her without blinking. Sure enough, a few moments later, the corner of her mouth twitched again, this time more obviously. And was that a suspicious blush creeping up her cheeks? My mind instantly flashed through countless trashy romance novel plots. Could it be she was going crazy from her cultivation? Or maybe her technique had some weird side effect that made her see certain R-rated illusions? The more I thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. Just then, Serafina's body shivered slightly. The smile on her lips grew wider, and beneath her closed eyelids, her eyeballs seemed to be moving rapidly. The killer, though, was her long eyelashes. They fluttered rapidly, like two tiny fans. That look, only one phrase came to my mind. Batting her eyelashes, she's batting her eyelashes at me, even if it was with her eyes closed. I felt my entire worldview shatter. The cold, aloof, unfeeling Serafina Prescott, who killed without a second thought, was hitting on me while meditating? This has to be a hallucination. I shook my head violently, trying to dislodge the ridiculous thought. But when I looked again, Serafina still had that strange smile on her face, and the blush was even more pronounced. I just stared. Help! This beautiful psycho hasn't actually fallen for me. Has she? Is it my irresistible charm, melting even a glacier like her? Or could it be that her cultivation technique, after absorbing my primal essence, created some kind of weird chemical reaction, making her dependent on me, or even attracted to me? The moment that thought appeared, it grew like a weed. The more I thought about it, the more sense it made. That's how it always goes in the novels, right? The conduit and a master always end up in some kind of messy entanglement. Ah, tragic fate. I sighed internally, looking at Serafina with an expression that said, "See, I knew this would happen. Even though you're beautiful, I'm allergic to psychos. It can never work between us." I mouthed silently. But my dramatic performance was for an audience of one who couldn't see. Right now, Serafina was at a critical juncture. She wasn't going crazy, and she certainly wasn't thinking about romance. She was fighting the inner demon hidden within her cultivation technique. The demon was a failsafe left by her former master, designed to prey on emotions and desires. Once it took control, she would become a mindless puppet. In the past, every time the demon appeared, Serafina had to rely on her immense willpower to fight it off, a torturous process. But today, for some reason, as the demon conjured all sorts of tempting illusions, a cool, pure energy would flow in from the outside at just the right moment, washing them away. It made fighting the demon incredibly easy. She knew this energy came from Leo. His immaculate body could not only regulate her frost energy, but could also suppress her inner demon. He was her perfect counter, her fated antidote. Realizing this, the massive weight she had carried for years finally began to lift. As long as he was here, maybe she could truly escape this cursed fate. This allowed her constantly tense mind to relax for the first time in years, which is why unconsciously a genuine smile touched her lips. Unfortunately, in my eyes, all of this was interpreted in a completely different way. Watching the increasingly flirtatious smile on Serafina's face, I silently scooted but a little farther away from her. Too scary. This woman has fallen completely under my spell. What should I do? Help needed online, it's urgent. The cultivation session ended. Serafina slowly opened her eyes, which were clear and bright. This victory against her inner demon made her feel refreshed and clear-headed. She glanced at me, in a relatively good mood, only to find me staring at her in terror, and scooting even farther away. It looked like he'd seen a monster. Serafina's brow furrowed again. What is he freaking out about now? "You come here," she said flatly. My body tensed, and I shook my head like a bobblehead doll on a bumpy road. "No, I'm not coming over." Her voice took on a dangerous edge. "Senior, it can never work between us." I gathered my courage, deciding to cut this thing off before it got out of hand. "I know you might have developed some misunderstandings about me because of your cultivation, but please stay rational. I'm just a janitor. We're from different worlds. I looked at her with a pained expression. It's better to end this now before it gets more painful. Let me go. It's for the best for both of us. Serafina just stared. Once again, she had no idea what I was talking about. Never work. Misunderstandings? Let him go. How does this person's brain even function? What nonsense are you spouting? Her voice turned cold. I'm not spouting nonsense. Seeing her refusal to face reality, I became even more distressed. I saw everything. Just now you were batting your eyelashes at me. Serafina's expression completely froze. Batting her eyelashes? Her? At this loser? A terrifying chill began to spread from her, threatening to engulf the entire glacial sanctum. Say that again, she said, her voice sounding like it was dredged up from the deepest abyss. I shivered, realizing I'd said the wrong thing. Crap, I hit a nerve. She's embarrassed, and now she's angry. I didn't say anything. I immediately tried to take it back, but it was too late. Serafina's figure blurred, and in an instant, she was in front of me, an icy hand clamped around my throat. What did you see? She asked, her voice a deadly whisper, her eyes burning with killing intent. A cultivator's state during practice was their greatest secret. To be spied upon was a grave taboo, especially when it was described with such a vulgar term. Cough, cough. I was joking. I choked, my face turning purple. I fell asleep. I was dreaming. I didn't see anything. Her grip tightened. I thought my neck was going to snap. Last chance. I was wrong. I was so wrong. My survival instinct kicked into overdrive. I shouldn't have peeked. I shouldn't have misunderstood you. You're a magnanimous senior. Please spare my worthless life. Looking at my pathetic, sniveling state, the killing intent in Serafina's eyes somehow dissipated. She released her grip. I collapsed to the floor, clutching my throat and coughing violently. Next time you die. With that, Serafina turned and returned to her cushion, closing her eyes as if to calm herself. I lay on the floor, gasping for air, having narrowly escaped death. So scary. This woman is completely unpredictable. One minute she loves you, the next she wants you dead. She was making eyes at me just a second ago, and now she's trying to kill me to silence me. She's a psycho. A top-tier, grade-A psycho. Can't mess with her. Definitely can't mess with her. From that day on, I became much more well-behaved. During our daily dual cultivation, I kept my eyes squeezed shut. See no evil, hear no evil. But even though I wanted peace, trouble always seemed to find me. Late one night, I was sound asleep when I felt something cold slide into my bed. It felt like a block of ancient ice, radiating a horrifying chill that shocked me awake. I shot my eyes open, and in the pale moonlight filtering through the window, I saw a stunningly beautiful face inches from my own. Serafina, what was she doing in my bed? I was so scared I nearly screamed, but an icy hand clamped over my mouth. Don't move. Her voice was strained, laced with a repressed pain and a tremor. That's when I noticed something was seriously wrong with her. Her body was shivering. Her face was completely drained of color, and her lips had a bluish tint. A visible layer of white frost was forming on her eyebrows and hair. Inner demon. Taking over. She forced out the words, her breath coming out in white puffs. My heart dropped. Inner demon? It's that serious? But I thought you could suppress it. I mumbled against her hand. This time is different. It wants my body. Her eyes began to lose focus, and the frost energy inside her spiraled completely out of control, flooding the room. The temperature instantly dropped below freezing. I felt like my blood was turning to slush. I knew if this continued, it wouldn't just be her. I'd freeze to death right here with her. Just then, as if driven by her last shred of consciousness, Serafina did something that left me utterly stunned. She wrapped herself around me like an octopus, her arms and legs tangling with mine, holding me in a death grip. Your primal essence. Can suppress it. She buried her face in the crook of my neck like a small animal seeking warmth, her body shivering even more violently. I was completely frozen in place. Soft, beautiful, and... Wait. No. Freezing, sharp, and beautiful. Cradling her, I felt absolutely nothing romantic. All I felt was that I was hugging a ticking ice bomb. I could clearly feel the raging frost energy from her body trying to invade mine. But every time it got close, a natural warmth would rise from within me, pushing it back. Hot and cold battled it out on the surface of my skin. As for Serafina, being pressed against me, her personal space heater seemed to help. Her shivering stopped, and her breathing gradually evened out. She just held on to me like that and fell into a deep sleep, leaving me to stare at the ceiling with wide, innocent eyes on the verge of tears. Lady, so your inner demon is acting up. Fine, but what's with hugging me all night? Have you never heard of personal space? And more importantly, can you please stop drooling on my neck? I didn't sleep a wink. More like I didn't dare to sleep. I felt like a corporate slave forced to work overtime, physically and mentally drained, all while keeping an eye on the volatile lady boss who could explode at any moment. Serafina, on the other hand, slept soundly. She was even, snoring lightly. Okay, no snoring, just deep, even breaths. But she was holding on tight. I felt like I was being constricted by a beautiful python, completely unable to move. I could even smell a faint, cool fragrance coming from her, like pine trees after a snowfall. It smelled nice, but it was deadly. I lay there, stiff as a board, all night. It wasn't until the first light of dawn painted the sky that the ice block in my arms finally stirred. Serafina's eyelashes fluttered, and she slowly opened her eyes. Our eyes met. The air in the room seemed to freeze. A flash of confusion crossed Serafina's eyes, followed by shock, and finally, a tidal wave of icy fury and killing intent. She violently let go of me and shot up from the bed, landing gracefully on the floor. She looked in disgust at me on the bed, and then at herself, as if the person who had been clinging to me all night wasn't her at all. 1,000 profanities screamed through my mind. Lady, what's with that look? Are you going to just use me and toss me aside? You're the one who took advantage, and now you're acting like the victim? Last night, Serafina's voice was so cold it could have made icicles. I get it. I get it. I immediately scrambled up, holding my hands up in surrender. Nothing happened last night. I don't know anything. I was sleeping like a log. I dreamt I was playing chess with my grandpa. I engaged my hyper-powered survival instincts, tried to erase the entire night from existence. She gave me a cold look. Last night, my inner demon acted up. It was an emergency. I had no choice but to borrow your body. Borrow? I couldn't help but retort. Lady, that's not how you borrow something. That was a hostile takeover, with a non-negotiable contract. Shut up, she snapped. You will not mention this to anyone. Or else. She didn't finish, but the threat in her eyes was crystal clear. I shut my mouth, and she paused, seeming to struggle with the words, thank you. With that, she turned and walked out of the room, leaving me alone and emotionally devastated. That's it? A thank you, and that's it? I wailed to the empty room. My innocence is ruined. I wanted to let it go, but other people had different plans. The news that the senior's inner demon flared up, and she spent the night clinging to her boy toy, didn't have any direct evidence. But the terrifying frost energy that had erupted from the glacial sanctum last night had alarmed many of the Academy's higher-ups. The next morning, when I left my room to get breakfast, I found that the entire world had changed. Every student who saw me gave me a complex and murderous look, envy, jealousy, and pure, unadulterated hatred. If looks could kill, I'd been diced into a million pieces by now. Look, that's him, the pretty boy Leo Foster. I heard Senior Prescott's inner demon went wild last night, and he was the one who helped her get through it. They must have. Shameless. Seducing our pure, untouchable senior. If we don't get rid of this pest, my heart will never be at peace. Let's go, brothers. Let's teach this pretty boy a lesson and show him that our senior is not for a loser like him to defile. A mob of hot-headed male students, filled with righteous indignation, began to close in on me. Seeing the situation, I was so scared my soul nearly left my body. What's happening? Are they going to lynch me? I wanted to run, but my legs felt like jelly. Just in the nick of time, a cold voice, like a crack of thunder, echoed in the air. Stop! Everyone turned to the source of the voice. Serafina had appeared nearby, her icy gaze fixed on them. As Senior Prescott. The students who had been so aggressive just a moment ago instantly deflated like popped balloons, bowing respectfully. "What are you doing?" Seraphina's gaze swept over them, colder than the ancient ice of her sanctum. We were just. The leader of the group stammered, unable to form a coherent sentence. Brawling and causing a public disturbance. According to Academy rules, what is the punishment? To have one's cultivation crippled and be expelled from the Academy. The student's face went white with terror. "Good." Seraphina nodded. "The disciplinary hall will be paying you a visit shortly." Without another glance at the ashen-faced students, she walked straight to me. "Are you all right?" Her words of concern, to everyone else, were like pouring gasoline on a fire. "It's over." Senior Prescott is publicly defending this pretty boy. Their relationship really is special. The sound of 1,000 hearts breaking echoed in the courtyard. As for me, looking at the beautiful face that was standing up for me, I felt not a shred of gratitude, only boundless terror. "Lady, are you trying to save me? You're painting a giant target on my back. After this, my reputation as a pretty boy and gigolo is set in stone. How am I supposed to survive in this academy now?" I could already see every male student in the academy holding knives, grinding their teeth, and whispering to me, "Today, either you die or you die." After that incident, I was officially famous. Now, when I walked through the academy, everyone turned to look. The male students looked at me like they wanted to flame me alive. The female students looked at me with curiosity, speculation, and a strange hint of envy. After all, this was Seraphina Prescott. What kind of magic did this Leo Foster possess to make the eternal ice mountain stand up for him? I ignored the stares. All I wanted was to get as far away from Seraphina as possible. That woman was a walking disaster magnet. But my wishes were not to be. Back in the glacial sanctum, Seraphina stopped me. "Come here." My heart sank. "Isha Fuldover. Senior, what can I do for you?" She glanced at me, seeming to notice my attempt to distance myself, and my look of disgust. A flash of annoyance crossed her heart, but she didn't show it. She took a small jade vial from her storage ring and held it out to me. "This is for you." "What is it?" I eyed the vial suspiciously, not reaching for it. "An elixir." "What kind of elixir?" "A marrow-cleansing draft," she said, her tone flat. "Your body is exceptional, but your meridians are blocked and your energy flow is poor. This will cleanse your system and strengthen your foundation." Her words didn't make me happy. They made me even more wary. A marrow-cleansing draft? That was a legendary, top-grade elixir. A single dose could transform a normal person into a cultivator. It was priceless. She's being this nice. Nobody is ever this nice for no reason. She's up to something. My mind raced with conspiracy theories. Why is she giving this to me? Does she want to make me stronger so I can be a better conduit? Or is this elixir tampered with? Maybe it has some kind of control curse in it, or maybe it's just straight-up poison. If I drink it, I'll be completely under her control, unable to resist. Or maybe she thinks I know too many of her secrets, like how she clings to men in her sleep, and she wants to use this elixir to make me mute or even brain dead. The more I thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. This psycho was capable of anything. As senior, I can't accept this. It's too valuable a gift for someone like me, I said, waving my hands frantically. "You earned it," she said. "Last night, you helped me suppress my inner demon. You performed a great service." No, it was my duty. It's my honor to be of service to you, senior," I said righteously. Seraphina's brow furrowed. She was discovering that normal communication methods just didn't work with me. If you try to be reasonable, I'd act like a fool. If you try to be forceful, I'd be the biggest coward in the world. If you offer me a gift, I'd become a paranoid conspiracy theorist. "Are you afraid I'm going to harm you?" she asked, cutting straight to the point. No, absolutely not. I shook my head vigorously. This apprentice just feels unworthy of such a treasure. "I'm telling you to take it." Her patience had run out. She grabbed my hand and forced the jade vial into it. Then, she gave me a look that left no room for argument. "Now drink it." I just stared. Crap. She wants to see me drink it right here, right now. No chance to switch it out. I held the heavy vial, which felt like a live grenade, my palms slick with cold sweat. To drink or not to drink? That was the question. If I drink it, I might be poisoned or controlled. If I don't drink it, I'll probably be killed right here. Choosing the lesser of two evils. I gritted my teeth, squeezed my eyes shut, uncorked the vial, and tipped the large, fragrant pill directly into my mouth. It dissolved instantly, and a warm current flooded my entire body. I felt like I was soaking in a hot spring, every pore opening up. My previously blocked meridians were flushed clean by the warm energy. An indescribable feeling of comfort spread through me. At the same time, a dark, foul-smelling substance began to seep from my pores. I blinked. This really seems to be a marrow-cleansing draft, and a top-quality one at that. I could feel my body undergoing a massive transformation. My senses sharpened, my thoughts cleared, and the pathetic trickle of energy in my core grew several times stronger. I think I'm about to have a breakthrough. Without a second thought, I sat down cross-legged and began to guide the immense medicinal power, slamming it against the bottleneck of my cultivation. Boom! A soft pop echoed within me, like something shattering. First tier, cultivator. Peak. Second tier, third tier. My power level was skyrocketing. Serafina, watching from the side, had a flicker of surprise in her eyes. She knew the immaculate body had incredible potential, but she hadn't expected the effect to be so dramatic. A single elixir had taken me from a near mortal to a fifth-tier cultivator in minutes. If word of this got out, it would shock the entire cultivation world. She looked at my face, twisted in a grimace of both pain and pleasure, and a thought occurred to her. Perhaps raising him to be a truly powerful cultivator would be a good choice. A powerful conduit was far more useful than a weak one. But right now, all I was feeling was despair. It's over. It's all over. I can't hide my power level now. I just wanted to be a quiet, handsome mortal. Why are you forcing me to cultivate? Oh, the humanity, my Tao of slacking is dead. The news of my sudden power surge spread through Ethelgard Academy like a disease. If before I was just a gigolo who got by on his looks, now I had a new title, the prodigy created by magic pills. Of course, to most of the male students, the two titles were basically the same. It was all thanks to Serafina. This raised the amount of hate directed at me to a whole new level. Now I had to wear a wide-brimmed hat whenever I went out, terrified of being recognized. This is all your fault. In a glacial sanctum, I leveled my most pathetic, weak-sauce accusation at Serafina. She was polishing her sword, Frostfall, and didn't even bother to look up. How is it my fault? Why did you give me that elixir? Do you have any idea that I'm now public enemy number one? How am I supposed to keep a low profile now? How am I supposed to slack off? I cried, clutching my chest in agony. Only the weak need to keep a low profile, she said coolly. The strong have nothing to fear. I am weak, and I'm proud of it, I declared. Serafina finally stopped polishing her sword and looked up at me. Her expression was one you'd give to a hopeless idiot. With me here, no one will dare to touch you. Can you protect me forever? I shot back. Serafina fell silent. She couldn't. Her destiny was among the stars, not in this small academy. Seeing her silence only fueled my indignation. See, I knew it. You're just after my body. Once you're done with me, you'll kick me to the curb. You monster. Just as I was wallowing in self-pity, a seductive, bell-like laugh echoed from outside the glacial sanctum. The laugh was filled with a bewitching charm, as if it could steal a man's soul. Dear Serafina, it's been so long. I missed you so. What are you doing, hiding in this icebox? Afraid to see me? As the voice faded in, a curvaceous woman in a sheer black dress swayed into the room. She had a face that could rival Serafina's in beauty, but their auras were polar opposites. If Serafina was an ice goddess from the heavens, this woman was a soul-stealing demon from the abyss. Her every smile, every glance, was dripping with fatal attraction. I took one look at her, and my mouth went dry. My heart began to pound. A succubus. A literal succubus. I quickly looked down, chanting in my head, "She's just a person. She's just a person." Lilith Thorn. Serafina slowly stood up, gripping her sword, her expression more serious than I'd ever seen it. "What are you doing here?" Hee hee hee. The woman named Lilith giggled, covering her mouth. "Just came to catch up with my dear old friend. And also, to see whether your Frostfall scripture is stronger or if my rapture sutra is superior. As she spoke, her seductive eyes slid past Serafina and landed on me. When she saw my devastatingly handsome face, her eyes lit up. Well, Serafina, what did you start hiding such a handsome young man in your icebox? Lilith's gaze felt like physical hooks, shamelessly raking over my body. I felt incredibly uncomfortable and instinctively shrank behind Serafina. Serafina took a step forward, blocking Lilith's view. He's with me. It's none of your concern. With you. Lilith laughed, as if she'd heard the funniest joke in the world. Serafina Prescott, you've actually developed feeling for someone? Am I hearing this right? I thought you were the one who had sworn off all worldly desires to focus on your ascension. She looked me over with great interest, clicking her tongue. Let me guess. This young man looks tender, and his power level is pathetically low. He can't be your partner, is he? Your conduit. Lilith was the star pupil of the Crimson Circle, a sect that specialized in such arts. She was extremely sensitive to body types like mine. She had seen through my true nature in an instant. Serafina's face turned grim. Get out. Don't be so cold. Lilith didn't leave. Instead, she shot me a wink. Little handsome, what's the fun in following this block of ice? Why don't you come with me? I promise, I'll show you what true paradise feels like. I shook my head like a bobblehead. Are you kidding me? One psycho ice queen is more than enough. Now you want to add a demoness to the mix? Do I look like I have a death wish? Seeing my refusal, Lilith wasn't angry at all. In fact, her smile grew wider. Interesting, very interesting. She licked her crimson lips, her gaze shifting between me and Serafina. Serafina, I've decided I want this conduit of yours. She held up a finger and crooked it at me. Tonight, you will come to my chambers and serve me. Otherwise, I wouldn't mind leveling this entire academy. Arrogant, domineering, completely unreasonable, I was stunned. I never thought I'd one day be the object of desire for two stunningly beautiful women, even if their method of fighting over me was a bit terrifying. You dare, Serafina roared. Her sword left its sheath, and the air in the glacial sanctum crackled with power, the temperature dropping even further. Watch me, Lilith countered, dark energy swirling around her, a seductive yet powerful aura rising to meet Serafina's chill. A battle was about to begin, and I, the center of the storm, was cowering in a corner, holding my head and trembling. Help me. When gods fight, mortals suffer. Can't you two take this outside? If you wreck my only home, where am I supposed to sleep? Lilith, I'll say it one last time. Get out. Serafina's patience was gone. Frost crawled up her blade, the tip aimed directly at Lilith's throat. My dear friend, why so angry? Lilith's eyes were smoldering, completely unfazed. I just feel sorry for this young man. I can't bear to see him frozen by your coldness. Look at him so handsome. If he were in my hands, I would make him delirious with pleasure. My face was burning. I wish the ground would swallow me whole. Lady, please stop talking. Are you trying to compliment me? This feels more like a public execution. Serafina's face was now so cold you could have scraped frost off it. You're asking for it. She wasted no more words. With a flick of her wrist, her sword became a streak of white light, piercing cold as it shot toward Lilith. Nice try. Lilith laughed, her body swaying like a black butterfly, easily dodging the blade. At the same time, a black whip appeared in her hand, lashing out like a striking viper, aiming for Serafina. In an instant, the glacial sanctum was filled with the clash of sword and whip. The two beautiful figures, one in white and one in black, were locked in a fierce battle. Their power levels were evenly matched. One was the prodigy of the righteous path, the other the chosen one of the demonic sect. The fight was a stalemate. The entire sanctum was being torn apart by the shockwaves of their battle. Ice shards flew everywhere. Furniture was blasted into splinters. I held my head and scrambled from the corner to behind a pillar, then from behind the pillar to under the bed, a pathetic sight. Stop fighting. Stop it. You're wrecking the place. I cried out in anguish. But no one was listening. The two women were now truly enraged. Serafina, you're actually fighting me over a conduit. It seems this pretty boy is more important to you than I thought. Lilith taunted as she attacked. Shut your filthy mouth. Seraphina's sword strikes became even more vicious. What? Did I hit a nerve? Getting angry. Lilith's smile was triumphant. Since you cherish him so much, then I'll just destroy him first. With that, Lilith fainted, forcing Seraphina back. Then her whip changed direction, snaking around Seraphina and shooting directly toward me, cowering under the bed. The move was fast, vicious, and completely unexpected. No. Seraphina's face changed. She tried to defend, but it was too late. I saw a black shadow flash before my eyes, and a powerful force slammed toward me. It's over. This is the end. I instinctively squeezed my eyes shut, bracing for the impact. But the pain never came. I only heard a soft thud, and then a cold body slammed into my back. I opened my eyes in confusion and looked behind me. I froze. Seraphina had somehow gotten in front of me. The black whip had struck her squarely on the back, tearing through her white robes and leaving a deep, bloody gash. Blood instantly stained her clothes, and her chest, due to the forward momentum, was pressed firmly against my back. My mind went completely blank. I could clearly feel, through 2 layers of clothing, the shocking softness and the slight trembling from her injury, and that familiar, cool, clean scent. My throat was dry. I couldn't speak. I never thought that Seraphina would take a hit for me. Didn't she just see me as a tool? Why, how dare you hurt her? A furious roar snapped me out of my thoughts. I looked up and saw that Lilith's face was also filled with shock and jealousy. She never thought Seraphina would go that far for a man. Seraphina, are you insane? Am I insane? Seraphina slowly straightened up, wiping a trickle of blood from her lips, her eyes burning with a rage I had never seen before. You hurt him. Today you will die. Boom! A terrifying frost energy, several times stronger than before, erupted from her body. Her black hair began to turn silver before my eyes. Her pupils took on an eerie blue glow. The frostfall scripture was out of control. Crap! Lilith's face paled. She knew this was a sign of Seraphina's power backlashing, on the verge of demonic transformation. A transformed Seraphina would be exponentially more powerful, but she would also lose her mind, becoming a mindless killing machine. Psycho. You're a complete psycho. Lilith didn't dare to fight anymore. She fainted, then her body dissolved in a black smoke and shot toward the exit. You win today, but that pretty boy, I'll have him sooner or later. Her voice echoed in the hall, but she was already gone. With Lilith gone, the raging energy around Seraphina receded like a tide. She swayed, her body giving out, and pitched forward. Hey! My reflexes kicked in. I reached out and caught her. Her back was slick and hot, not from a fever, but from the blood pouring from her wound. Are you okay? I asked, looking at her pale face, a feeling I could only describe as worry blooming in my chest for the first time. I'll live. Seraphina pushed me away, struggling to stand, but the pain from her back made her suck in a sharp breath. She looked at me, her expression complex. Why didn't you dodge? I opened my mouth, then gave a bitter smile. I wanted to, but could I have? With my pathetic power level, I was just a training dummy to someone like Lilith. Seraphina fell silent. That was true. He was too weak. So weak. He couldn't even protect himself. If she had been a second slower today, he would be a corpse right now. A thought rose, unbidden, from the depths of her heart. I must make him stronger. The atmosphere in the glacial sanctum was awkward. Seraphina leaned against a wall, her face pale, the wound on her back still bleeding. I stood nearby, wringing my hands completely at a loss. I wanted to help her treat the wound, but I was afraid the psycho would stab me for my troubles. I wanted to pretend I didn't see it, but that felt wrong. After all, she'd gotten hurt saving my life. Senior, your injury. Is it bad? I finally broke the silence. It's a flesh wound. Nothing serious, she said, her voice weak. She said it was nothing, but I could see beads of sweat forming on her forehead. Lilith's whip was imbued with the unique dark energy of her sect. It didn't just damage the body. It corroded a person's energy channels and was incredibly difficult to heal. Don't move. I'll go get some medicine. I don't know where I found the courage, but I turned to run. Stop, she called out. Huh. Normal medicine won't work on me, Serafina said, her gaze flickering. My injury requires a special method of treatment. My stomach dropped. A special method? I suddenly had a very, very bad feeling about this. What special method? Was it my imagination, or did her cheeks just flush? No, definitely my imagination. My body's nature is of the ultimate een and cold. Lilith's dark energy is of the ultimate een and evil, she explained. The two clash, which will only make the injury worse. It must be expelled with a force of ultimate yang and purity. I was completely lost. Ultimate yang and purity? What's that? She didn't answer directly. Instead, she asked me, your immaculate body, your primal essence, is the purest source of yang energy in the world. I just stared. I think. I was starting to get it. Why do we always end up back on this topic? You mean we have to do dual cultivation again? My face turned green. Lady, you're seriously injured, and you're still thinking about dual cultivation. This is a workplace injury. You should be resting. Stop trying to exploit your employee. Not dual cultivation. She shook her head, seeming to struggle with the words. A more direct method. My eyes went wide. More direct than dual cultivation. What could that possibly be? I didn't dare to think about it. Seeing the look of pure, thunderstruck horror on my face, Serafina's blush deepened. What? What are you thinking? She snapped, a mix of shame and anger in her voice. The method I'm talking about is using your yang energy to heal me. How? I still didn't get it. Serafina took a deep breath, as if steeling herself. It requires skin-to-skin contact. Boom! My brain exploded. Skin-to-skin contact? I looked at her, then at myself, and the world started to feel unreal. What? What kind of R-rated line is that? This is basically getting naked together, isn't it? I had to admit, Serafina's figure was definitely top tier. But this was a little too much, too fast. You're unwilling? She asked, her voice turning cold again when I didn't respond. No, I am willing. Of course I'm willing. I nodded eagerly, then immediately thought better of it and shook my head. I mean, isn't this a little inappropriate? There's nothing inappropriate about it, she said, her tone leaving no room for argument. It's just healing. Don't get any lewd ideas. With that, she began to untie the sash of her robes. My eyes nearly popped out of my head. Wait, isn't this moving a bit too fast? Couldn't we at least wait until dark? Just as the atmosphere reached a peak of tense and awkward intimacy, the doors to the glacial sanctum were kicked open with a loud bang. Serafina Prescott, get your ass out here. A furious shout echoed through the hall. Lilith was back, her face a mask of rage. Behind her stood several powerful-looking elders from her sect. My sweet little thing, I've come to rescue you. Lilith's eyes immediately locked on the two of us in our state of undress, and her fury erupted. Serafina, you bitch, how dare you force yourself on my man while I'm gone? I just stood there bewildered. Your man? When did I become your man? Serafina's face darkened. She quickly pulled her robes closed and stared coldly at Lilith. You came back. Why wouldn't I? Lilith sneered. I'm telling you now, today this pretty boy is mine. No one is going to stop me. You and what army? This one. The two women, once again on the verge of battle. Stuck in the middle, I felt a massive headache coming on. I looked at the psycho ice queen on my left, then at the demonic seductress on my right, and saw my future as a dark, terrifying void. Help me. Somebody, please. I really don't want to be fought over by two beautiful psychos. Why am I the one who suffers when they fight? Little handsome, don't be afraid. Come to me, Lilith said, holding out her hand. Don't you dare go to her. Serafina pulled me behind her. Serafina, let him go. He's mine. Bullshit. He obviously likes me more. Nonsense. He was just about to. About to what? As the argument between the two women descended into madness, I finally broke. Both of you just shut up. I let out a cry of pure anguish. I'm not going with anyone. I want to sweep floors. I want to go home and sweep floors. My desperate plea had absolutely no effect. The two women, their blood up, weren't listening. Kill them. At Lilith's command, the demonic elders swarmed forward. Formation. Serafina roared. Her sword drew a complex pattern in the air, and the ice walls of the sanctum flared with light, forming a massive frost array that trapped everyone inside. It was the sanctum's ultimate defense. In an instant, demonic energy and frost power clashed violently within the hall, the sound of explosions echoing ceaselessly. I was terrified by the apocalyptic scene, clinging to the thickest ice pillar for dear life to avoid being blown away by the shockwaves. Serafina was already injured, and now she was fighting multiple opponents while maintaining the array. It was clearly taking its toll. Her face grew paler, and more blood trickled from her lips. Serafina, you can't last much longer. Lilith saw her weakness and pressed her attack. Hand over the pretty boy, and I might spare your life. In your dreams. Serafina gritted her teeth and forced more of her own life essence into the array. Its light flared, and one of the demonic elders was instantly frozen into a solid statue. You bitch! Seeing her subordinate fall, Lilith was enraged. Her whip transformed into a giant black python and slammed into the core of the array. Crack! A loud crack echoed as a fissure appeared on the array. Serafina's body shuddered, and she coughed up a mouthful of blood. She was at her limit. Was this really the end? She glanced unwillingly at me, still trembling in the corner. No, I can't lose. At the very least, I can't let him fall into the hands of that demoness Lilith. A look of grim resolve flashed in her eyes. She suddenly sheathed her sword, releasing control of the array, and in a flash she grabbed me. Let's go. To everyone's astonishment, she pulled me toward the back of the sanctum. Trying to run? Not on my watch. Lilith snapped out of her surprise and gave chase. Serafina dragged me through the sanctum, all the way to a solid ice wall at the very back. She bit her fingertip and drew a complex rune on the wall with her blood. Vehemently, the ice wall rumbled open, revealing a dark, hidden tunnel. What's this? I didn't even have time to ask before she shoved me inside. Go. It's a secret passage. It leads to the back of the mountain. But she didn't follow. She turned, preparing to face Lilith alone. What about you? I yelled. Don't worry about me. Her tone was final. You're too weak. If you stay, you'll just be a burden. Go. I looked at her determined back, a storm of emotions swirling inside me. This woman, she was crazy, she was domineering, but it seemed like she was really, in her own twisted way, protecting me. Just then, Lilith caught up. You think you can get him away from me? Think again. As Lilith's attack was about to land on Serafina, I don't know where I got the courage, but I roared, Stop! I'll go with you. Lilith's attack froze midair. Serafina whipped her head around, her eyes wide with disbelief. What did you say? I said, I'll go with her. I repeated, looking at Serafina with a bitter smile. You're already hurt so badly. Stop pushing yourself. If you keep fighting, you're going to die. My life is none of your concern, she said, her voice hoarse. How can it not be my concern? I sighed. If you die, who's going to pay my salary? Serafina just stared. Even now, all this idiot could think about was mana crystals. Lilith didn't care about our drama. Hearing that I was willing to go with her, she was overjoyed. My sweet little thing, you really are a smart one. She shot me a wink. Come here now, come to me. I took a deep breath, stepped out of the secret passage, and began to walk, step by step, toward Lilith. Every step felt like it was trampling on Serafina's heart. Her face became colder than ice. But just as I was about to reach Lilith, something impossible happened. A brilliant golden light erupted from my body. A vast, holy, and intensely pure yang energy shot out from me. Faced with this power, Lilith and her demonic elders cried out in pain, as if they'd hit their natural enemy, stumbling backward. This is rituel impossible. How could you have something like this? Lilith stared at me in horror, as if she were seeing a ghost. I was just as confused. I looked down at my glowing body, completely bewildered. What's going on? When did I get this power up? Why wasn't I informed? It's the immaculate body. Serafina suddenly realized something, crying out in shock. The immaculate body is impervious to all evil. In a life or death situation, it automatically releases a protective aura. Oh, so that's what it is. I finally understood. Turns out I'm my own cheat code. Demoness. Prepare to die. I was feeling myself again. I put my hands on my hips and struck what I thought was a cool pose. But the golden light around me lasted for less than 3 seconds before it fizzled out with a soft poof. I just stood there. Lilith just stood there. Seraphina just stood there. The silence was deafeningly awkward. Ahem. I coughed, trying to salvage some dignity. Ran out of mana. My bad, total misfire. Kill him. Lilith snapped out of it, her embarrassment turning to rage, and ordered her men forward again. Seraphina, seeing this, ignored her injuries and raised her sword, ready for another fight. It looked like another brutal battle was about to begin. Wait, I suddenly yelled. I looked at Seraphina, then at Lilith, and finally my eyes rested on the deep, bloody wound on Seraphina's back. I gritted my teeth and made a momentous decision. Senior, didn't you say you needed healing? I asked, my face completely serious. Seraphina blinked. Now. Yes, right now. My eyes burned with the desperate courage of a man with no other options. Didn't you say there was only one way and it involved taking off clothes? Let's do it. Right here, in front of them. Today, I'll show this demoness what the light of justice really looks like. My declaration stunned the entire room into silence. Lilith and her subordinates all stared at me like I was a complete lunatic. In front of us? Healing. And you have to take off your clothes? Dude, you're into some kinky stuff? Even Seraphina was shocked speechless by my outrageous proposal. For the first time, cracks appeared on her eternally frozen facade. What are you talking about? She hissed, her voice trembling with shame and fury. I'm not talking nonsense, I said, my voice filled with righteous conviction. Didn't you say your injury needed my primal yang energy to heal? Didn't you say it required skin-to-skin contact? I pointed at Lilith, my voice ringing with moral authority. This demoness practices the ultimate evil arts. Our primal yang energy and righteous aura are her natural enemy. We'll heal right here and show her that evil can never triumph over good. My speech, actually, kind of made sense. Even Seraphina was getting confused. But, no buts. I cut her off. This is a matter of life and death. Senior, don't hesitate. Now, do it. As I spoke, I began to untie my own sash. Lilith watched my eager display, her brow furrowed. Shameless, she snorted, but she didn't immediately attack. She was also curious to see what kind of trick we were trying to pull. Seraphina looked at me, already taking off my outer robe, and her head began to spin. This bastard, does he have any idea what he's doing? This isn't just healing anymore. This is humiliation in front of my mortal enemy with a man. She didn't dare to think any further. But Leo was right. Right now, there didn't seem to be a better option. Her injuries had been aggravated by the fight. If she didn't treat them soon, her foundation could be permanently damaged. And Leo's primal yang energy was indeed the perfect counter to Lilith's dark arts. If they could really trigger his protective aura through the healing process. Maybe there was a chance. Gritting her teeth, Seraphina made her decision. To hell with it. For the sake of my ascension, what's a little dignity? She closed her eyes, took a deep breath, and then, to everyone's shock, she slowly raised her hands and untied the sash of her robes. The white outer robe slid down her smooth shoulders, revealing, another white layer underneath. I just stared. Lilith just stared. Senior, aren't you being a little unprofessional? I couldn't help but point out. This is a life or death situation, and you're dressed like a Russian nesting doll. Seraphina's face was so red it looked like it was about to catch fire. Shut up, she snapped. She turned her back to the room, presenting me with an expanse of flawless skin. The whip mark was a brutal, shocking slash against her pale back. Well, what are you waiting for? Her voice was barely a whisper. Quickly, put your hand on it. I swallowed hard, my heart hammering against my ribs. My hand trembling, I reached out. The moment my palm touched the warm, smooth skin of her back, both of us let out a stifled grunt. Vim! A pure stream of primal yang energy flowed from my palm and her body. Seraphina felt a wave of warmth spread through her, and the dark, evil energy clinging to her wound hissed and sizzled as it was rapidly purified. A tingling, itching sensation spread from the wound. It's working. It's actually working. She was overjoyed. But Lilith's face had turned ugly. She could clearly feel the yang energy radiating from me. It was making her deeply uncomfortable, even disrupting the flow of her own dark power. Don't let them continue. A vicious glint appeared in Lilith's eyes. Kill them. Kill them now. But just as her subordinates were about to move, something else happened. As my yang energy continued to flow, the golden light erupted from my body again. And this time it was far brighter and lasted much longer than 3 seconds. Righteous aura filled the entire hall. When the light hit the demonic elders, they screamed as if they'd been thrown into boiling oil, dark smoke pouring from their bodies. The weaker ones were instantly incinerated. How is this possible? Lilith cried out in alarm, desperately using her own power to resist. Demoness, do you see? This is the light of justice. I felt invincible again and couldn't resist taunting her even while I was healing Seraphina. But Seraphina was experiencing something strange. She could feel my yang energy not just healing her wound, but also nourishing her soul. It was a warm, comfortable feeling that made her want more. Her mind began to grow hazy. At the same time, her frostfall scripture, as if stimulated, began to circulate on its own. Yin and yang, hot and cold. Two opposing forces, using our bodies as a medium, began a mysterious and profound fusion. No, Seraphina's mind snapped back to reality. She knew this was a sign that her power was about to spiral out of control and force a dual cultivation state. If that happened here, the consequences would be unthinkable. She had to stop it, but she couldn't control her own body. In a moment of desperation, she suddenly spun around to face me and did something that stunned everyone. She cupped my face in her hands and kissed me hard. My eyes went wide, warm, soft, and with a hint of sweetness. That was my first kiss, and it was gone. As Seraphina kissed me, she bit her own tongue, using the sharp pain to regain a sliver of clarity. With our lips connected, she forced a reverse flow of frost energy into my body. A chill shot through me, and the golden light around me instantly vanished. At the same time, Seraphina used the opportunity to sever the energy connection between us. She pulled away, panting, her face flushed, her eyes hazy. I touched my lips, staring at her dumbly. Seraphina couldn't meet my eyes. She turned her head away and said, in a completely unconvincing, cold tone, "Don't misunderstand. That was also part of the healing process." Healing? I felt like my entire understanding of reality had been rewritten several times today. Taking off clothes was healing. Kissing was healing. So what was next? I didn't dare to think about it. Across the room, Lilith, after witnessing the kiss, was completely stunned. Then, a tidal wave of rage and betrayal washed over her. "Seraphina, you bitch. How dare you kiss him in front of me?" She looked as if she'd just been cheated on, even though I had absolutely nothing to do with her. "Aya, I'm going to kill you both." Lilith completely lost it. She channeled all her power, transforming into a black tornado, and shot toward us. But just then, a powerful, authoritative voice roared from outside the glacial sanctum. "What demon dares to cause trouble in my Ethelgard Academy?" With that, several incredibly powerful auras descended from the sky. The leader was an old man in a green robe who looked like a wise old sage. It was the headmaster of Ethelgard Academy, Valerius. Behind him were several of the Academy's grand elders. Clearly, the earth-shattering battle and the blast of righteous aura had finally alerted the old masters from their seclusion. "Headmaster." Seeing them, Seraphina relaxed, her body finally giving out. She swayed and began to fall. I quickly caught her and held her in my arms. Headmaster Valerius and the elders entered the room to a bizarre scene. The demoness Lilith Thorne was in a rage, and their academy's most prized prodigy, Seraphina Prescott, was disheveled, bleeding, and collapsing weakly into the arms of a janitor. The janitor was also disheveled, and both of their lips were a little swollen. This was a lot to take in. The old masters, who had lived for centuries, seemed to be experiencing a system crash. "Insolent demoness," to barge into my Ethelgard Academy in broad daylight, and to interrupt my students. Healing session. Unforgivable. Headmaster Valerius, a man of experience, quickly recovered and glared at Lilith. Seeing that all of Ethelgard's top masters had arrived, Lilith knew her chance was gone. She shot me and Seraphina a hateful look. Seraphina Prescott. Leo Foster. You just wait. This isn't over. With that, she dissolved into a black mist and fled with her remaining subordinates. Headmaster Valerius didn't give chase. He hurried over to Seraphina. Seraphina, are you all right? Are you badly injured? Thank you for your concern, Headmaster. I am fine, she said, struggling to stand up from my arms and straighten her messy clothes. But the elders' gazes were all fixed on me. They looked me up and down, this unknown janitor, their eyes filled with curiosity and a thirst for gossip. And who might this young man be? One of the elders asked, stroking his long white beard. His name is Leo Foster. He's my... Seraphina was at a loss for words. She couldn't say I was her conduit, and friend didn't seem right either. Just as she was struggling, I suddenly fell to my knees before Headmaster Valerius with a loud thud. Headmaster, elders, you must seek justice for me. I began to cry, tears and snot streaming down my face. I was just a humble janitor in the archives, working hard every day. But Senior Prescott, she saw that I was young and handsome, and she forcibly abducted me to this glacial sanctum and did things to me. I was sobbing too hard to continue, the picture of a horribly wronged victim. Not only did she force me to be her conduit, she did all sorts of strange things to me. And today she even, in front of outsiders, forcibly stripped off my clothes and kissed me. My innocence, it's gone. I can't go on living. I wailed, banging my head against the ice floor with loud thuds. My performance was so good it could have won an Oscar. Headmaster Valerius and the elders were completely stunned. They looked at each other, their eyes wide with shock. So, that's what happened. It was Seraphina who forced him. They looked at Seraphina. Her beautiful face was shifting between shades of white, red, and purple. Her body was trembling with absolute fury. Thou, Foster. She squeezed my name through her gritted teeth. If looks could kill, I'd be dead 1,000 times over. You're shameless. I am shameless. I looked up, my eyes brimming with tears. Senior, I swear on my life, have I said a single word that isn't true? Can you deny that you forced me? Can you deny that you took off my clothes? Can you deny that you kissed me? Seraphina opened her mouth. She realized she couldn't deny it, because, in a way, everything I said was technically the truth. Seeing her silent admission, the elders' gazes toward me softened with sympathy. Such a fine young man, so horribly violated. Ahem. Headmaster Valerius cleared his throat, breaking the awkward silence. He walked over to Seraphina and said in a gentle tone, Seraphina, my dear, young people are full of passion. It's understandable to be a bit impulsive, but one must exercise restraint. He then turned to me. Young Leo, don't be too upset. The Ethelgard Academy will see that you get justice. He paused, then announced in a tone that brokered no argument. This matter concerns the reputation of our academy and Seraphina's honor. There's only one solution. He looked at me and Seraphina. The two of you will be married at once. Leo Foster, as of today you are the senior's husband, and you will take responsibility for Seraphina. I stared. Seraphina stared. Both of us were dumbfounded. Wait, is this the wrong script again? How do we fast forward to marriage? And Headmaster, aren't you getting it backward? Shouldn't she be the one taking responsibility for me? Headmaster Valerius's decision hit us like a bomb. No, I don't agree. We both yelled at the same time. Then we looked at each other with mutual disgust. Headmaster, we can't do this. Seraphina was the first to speak, her voice urgent. Between him and me, we're innocent. Nothing happened. There's no need to. Nonsense, a fiery elder interrupted, his mustache bristling. Disheveled, clinging to each other, and kissing, and you call that innocent? Do you think we're all blind? Indeed, another elder added. Seraphina, we're not trying to lecture you, but as the senior prodigy of the academy, How could you do something so indecent? The entire academy knows he's been living in your sanctum, and now we've witnessed this. If you don't give him a proper status, how will he face the world? Where will the honor of our academy be? Serafina was speechless, her face crimson. She wanted to explain, but she knew it would only make things worse. I was getting desperate too. Headmaster, elders, you can't do this. I'm still young. I don't want to get married so early. I began to roll around on the floor like a child throwing a tantrum. This is an arranged marriage. It's archaic. I want freedom. I want human rights. But the elders completely ignored me, instead giving me a look that clearly said, "You lucky bastard, stop pretending you're not thrilled." Headmaster Valerius patted my shoulder paternally. "Young man, to marry Serafina is the fortune of a lifetime. You should count your blessings. This marriage is settled." The headmaster's word was final. "From today on, you are officially partners. You must support each other and live a good life." With that, he and the other elders, looking quite pleased with themselves, having gotten the juiciest gossip of the century, strolled out of the sanctum, leaving me and Serafina to stare at each other, completely stunned. 3 days later, the glacial sanctum was decorated with red lanterns and festive banners. A simple, rushed wedding ceremony was held. No guests, no feast. The only witnesses were Headmaster Valerius and the Grand Elders. I stood there in a bright red ceremonial robe, feeling like I was being roasted over a fire. I glanced at Serafina beside me, also in red but with a face still locked in ice, and whispered, "This is just temporary. Once the heat dies down, we'll go get a divorce. Dissolve our partnership." She shot me a cold look, but said nothing. But her eyes seemed to say, "You think you're getting away?" The ceremony ended, and the elders left, satisfied. The vast glacial sanctum was once again empty, except for the two of us. The atmosphere became charged. "Well, it's getting late. We should probably get some sleep," I coughed, pointing to the side chamber where I usually slept. I'll get out of your hair." I turned to make my escape. "Stop." Her voice came from behind me. I froze. I slowly turned around. Serafina had already changed out of her elaborate wedding robes and was now sitting on the edge of her bed in a simple red nightgown, watching me. In the candlelight, her cheeks were tinged with a lovely blush, making her look less icy and more beautiful. "From now on, you sleep here," she said, patting the spot on the bed beside her. I swallowed hard. Is that a good idea? We're only married in name." "The headmaster and the elders don't think so," she said coolly. "They could come to check on us at any time. Do you think it would look good if we were sleeping in separate rooms?" I paused. She had a point. "All right, then you can have the bed. I'll just sleep on the floor. I tried one last time." "No," she replied, simple and absolute. She looked at me, her eyes glinting. "My injury hasn't fully healed, and my inner demon could relapse at any time." The unspoken meaning was clear. You, my personal space heater and demon purifier, need to be on standby at all times. My face fell. "So, I'm just a tool then?" Reluctantly, I shuffled over to the bed and lay down on the absolute farthest edge, my body stiff as a board. Serafina watched my going to the gallows performance with a flicker of an almost imperceptible smile in her eyes. She blew out the candle. The room was plunged into darkness. In the dark, I could clearly hear my own heart pounding, and hers. Thump, 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 thump. I whispered into the darkness. "Senior, are you asleep?" "No." Can I ask you a question?" "Speak." Why'd you take that whip from me back there?" It was the one thing I couldn't figure out. There was a long silence. So long I thought she wasn't going to answer. Because her voice was faint, almost dreamy. "You are my conduit, and without my permission, no one is allowed to touch you." The answer was forceful and held a strange, indefinable undertone. My heart, for no reason at all, skipped a beat. Just then, I felt a cold hand find mine in the darkness and take it. "From today on, we are partners," her voice whispered in my ear. "So, it's about time we began our real dual cultivation." Before I could process what that meant, I heard a soft click. To my horror, I realized she had used a sliver of frost energy to lock the door. From the inside, "Senior." My voice trembled. "Dual cultivation is fine, but Why did you lock the door? In the darkness, I heard her soft laugh, a sound laced with seduction and dominance. Afraid you'll run.